In our outside gardens, the birds are chirping and the bees are buzzing. In a perfect world, we all wish we could have as much room to grow as possible. As gardeners, we always want more and more space. Which is too bad, because we don't always get what we want, do we? Even in the backyard or on the patio, vegetable crops can take up a lot of room. Other than light, water, and nutrients, space is right up there as one of the most important parameters for growing success. Every plant has a set minimum for what its roots need to network and what its shoots require to reach upwards. Some, however, are significantly less than the norm, and if you can just meet the minimum requirements, well, you're good to go. So today, I got 6 such plants for those tight situations. 6 plants for us space challenge growers who still like to think big but cultivate small. The best crops for small, tight spaces have relatively shallow root systems and low, unobtrusive growth up top. For peas, they certainly start out this way, but as we all know, they quickly shoot to the moon. However, in this case, 1 out of 2 isn't that bad. Fortunately for us, even though they put out impressive foliage, they do so vertically. If we're going to grow plants with large foliage in small spaces, then we have to do so upwards. Peas do this masterfully, so they're first on our list. Planted in nice, neat rows, as well as containers, peas are sown shallow, about 4 to 6 inches apart. Almost always direct seeded, growers will often plant more than 1 seed in a spot to ensure germination success. Seeds are relatively cheap, lost time and space is not. If more than 1 seed at a location happens to germinate, simply thin to the healthiest plant once they're about 2 inches tall. Peas also love to climb. This one is pretty much non-negotiable. This crop will not flourish if it's not allowed to grow vertically. Modified shoots, known as tendrils, aid the plants in climbing and support. No need to manually stake these guys like we do with our tomatoes and cucumbers. All we need to do is provide the structure and the peas do the rest of the work. Self-pollinating masters, these guys can be grown early as well as late in the season when most insects are not even active. Plant early and throughout the year for a near unlimited supply of fresh peas in your non-frost months. They come in 3 main types: English or shelling, snap, and snow. Peas not only take up minimal space by growing vertically, but they also complement and play nicely with other crops as well. Speaking of other crops, what goes well with peas? Carrots, of course. You can't have one without the other. While peas grow to impressive heights, carrots are relatively little guys above the soil. Below ground though, and this unassuming root crop can be quite monstrous. Fortunately though, just like the peas do with their shoots, carrots send those taproots straight down, albeit downwards instead of up. What this means though is that for as prolific as carrots are, they are mega space savers. It also means that carrots are a perfect complement for crops like peas with large canopies and relatively shallow root systems. Usually staying under a foot tall, carrots grow very controlled and very predictable, making them ideal candidates to squeeze into tight spaces or to grow in containers like I am here. Surface sown up to 4 times a year, carrots can take a while to get going, but once they do, watch out. Sown heavily to guarantee germination, again, because seeds are cheap, carrots will likely need to be thinned several times during their life to get those big harvests. My favorite way to do this is to harvest to thin. That is, periodically remove the largest baby carrots from your patch or row and they'll get naturally thinned over the course of the life cycle with no waste. Not only can we harvest carrots when they're young, medium, and old, they also store really well, ensuring that we can have a supply of this crop nearly year-round. Carrots come in 4 main types: Imperator, Chantenay, Danvers, and Nantes, with dozens of varieties of each. Saving seeds with this crop is possible, but as a biennial plant, it is a 2-year process. Fortunately, they are inexpensive to buy, although they do have a shorter shelf life than most other crops. Either way, if you're cramped for space, carrots should be one of your go-to crops. Another crop that's even easier to grow and comes back bigger and better every year are strawberries. A low-crawling perennial, this one can get a bit wild if left to run free out in the garden. However, confined to pots or containers, strawberries are a small space specialist. Normally grown from pre-started plants, strawberries tend to not reliably produce berries in their first year. These true temperate perennials need a winter chill to set their fruit buds in motion, and after 2 years, you'll be off to the races. Adult strawberry plants produce offshoots known as runners that are a means of vegetative reproduction. It's a great way to expand your patch, but these runners are a complete drain on the main plant as well as your harvests. Remove them as they appear throughout the growing season to keep your berry bounty at its highest. They are, however, a source of free plants. This is last year's runner, and it already has runners of its own. If you ever wanted to expand your strawberry operation, runners is the way to go, and they're virtually unlimited and always free. Long, skinny shoots up top and a bulb base that just sits there waiting for the harvest. When you think about it, onions don't take up too much space. Well, one doesn't, but growing a single solitary bulb onion isn't very practical or economical. Fortunately, though, we've got green onions. Also known as scallions, these non-bulbing sweet green shoots of awesomeness are delicious raw or cooked. Green onions have also got to be the easiest crop to grow on this list, or any list for that matter, and there's 2 ways to do it. Seeds surface spread liberally in a pot or container, or in this case a long herb planter, are going to germinate in about a week. 2 to 3 weeks after that, some of the small stalks will already be ready for harvest. Simple stuff, and anyone can do it. But even easier than that is growing your green onions from cuttings. With just an inch or 2 of the bottom root section left on, stuck in water, your green onion cuttings are going to start sending out new roots within days. Green replacement shoots are going to start forming at this time as well. Placed in fresh soil about a week later, your green onions are going to grow good as new, and this process can be repeated over and over for pretty much unlimited green onions. Honestly, this is a crop that you should only ever have to buy once. Now, another green-ish, small space staple has got to be lettuce. It comes in a million different varieties, and it's not given nearly enough credit for how space efficient it really is. For as delicate as the foliage appears, some varieties of lettuce are downright robust. While it can be direct seeded, it's much more controlled and predictable to grow lettuce from pre-started seedlings or plugs. Some lettuce varieties do bush out, namely the leafy types, but upright romaines can be packed in super tight, giving you fresh salad greens daily in the most compact of quarters. Heat, however, does cause most varieties to bolt, so try to grow your lettuce in the fringes of spring and late summer. Container-wise, it grows fantastic, and you can harvest just the outer leaves of most varieties in a method called cut and come again. It'll provide you with ongoing lettuce greens over and over again from the same plant. Truly a production powerhouse. In fact, the only plant that could possibly outproduce it is a group of plants. That's right, herbs. Big time flavor in a tiny package that absolutely excels in small spaces. Normally grown right from seed, these are the first plants that gardeners think of when space becomes an issue. Not to mention, these guys are the only crops that can be reliably grown indoors. Lush, quick-growing herbaceous types are the preferred ones here, although pretty much all herbs are on the menu for small space growing. Save for, of course, this rosemary, which is absolutely going to laugh at the idea of growing in a small space. Rosemary aside, you can surface or shallow sow most herb species indoors, and at 80 degrees Fahrenheit, they'll germinate in about a week. A little bit longer for lower temperatures. They'll thrive inside on a sunny windowsill, or in the case of cilantro and basil, with just the artificial light of your kitchen or even your dining room. Don't overwater, harvest regularly, and herbs can be the king of growing in small spaces. So much so that I did an entire video just on creating your own indoor herb garden. Check it out here if it's something you're interested in. In the meantime though, let's recap our 6 crops for small spaces so that we don't miss a thing. Rows and rows of onions and things like this corn here that I grew a couple years ago are certainly going to produce harvests to be proud of. But just because you don't have acres and acres of garden to grow on doesn't mean you can't get some impressive bounty. Hopefully the 6 crops we covered here today give you Space Challenge growers a chance at getting that bounty you deserve, regardless of how much room you have to grow. As always though guys, happy growing, and I'll see you in the next one.